say, Amnesty International is independent of any government, political ideology, economic interest, or religion. We are a worldwide movement of people who campaign to end grave abuses of human rights and to demand justice for those whose rights have been violated. A great deal of what I will be sharing with you this afternoon is taken from an Amnesty International official report that was just launched April 1st. The entire report is available online at amnesty.org. It's a 19-page document on Amnesty International's stance on the Olympic Games and China's human rights issues. I will also be quoting this afternoon from our Austin chapter coordinator, Mr. Charles Byerly, and I will also be quoting from the Secretary General of Amnesty International, Ms. Irene Khan. Amnesty International would like to thank the Human Rights Torch Relay organizers, and me personally, I would like to thank Yi Ting because she was instrumental in letting us be here today. Thank you very much. We want to thank you for the attention that you have brought to the Olympic Games and their connection with China's human rights abuses. And we wish you all the best across the United States, and we appreciate all of the global work that you have done. Amnesty International has continually found China and its human rights policy to be a difficult challenge. We continue to see many of our most serious cases coming from China and Tibet. Tibetan monks and nuns have been released due to Amnesty's pressure and international campaigns, but the system is a revolving door, and the Tibetan clergy continue to face arrest, long imprisonment, and even torture. Despite long-standing efforts to substantially reform or abolish RTLs are re-education through labor, and those are labor camps. Despite their efforts to abolish labor camps, they are in fact being modernized and even expanded for use by the Beijing police as a tool to sweep undesirables off of the streets. Recent reports of roundups of people in Beijing suggest that the authorities are resorting to methods similar to CNR, and we call CNR as custody and repatriation. It's an abusive system of administrative detention, the abolition of which in 2003, when the Chinese authorities got rid of it in 2003, they presented it to the world as a huge human rights improvement. So clearly, any improvement in the area of these labor camps or CNRs has been completely unraveled by the approaching Olympic Games. Beijing claims that its human rights record is an internal affair. However, the political conditions under which 1/5 of the world's population live are of concern to all humanity. But a new wind is blowing. It isn't flying around here. Amnesty International is encouraged in that each year China sees hundreds of uprisings by rural farmers, and they are demanding a clean environment and social justice. Unfortunately, several rural activists are being forced into the re-education through labor system, and these are labor camps. Many rural petitioners whom have not won their cases at the local level have had to travel great distances to Beijing to petition the government for appeals, only to find themselves, once they are there, with no place to stay while they're waiting. Consequently, they are swept off the streets and sent to labor camps. And as a run-up to the Olympic Games, this is being done to present a harmonious society. Likewise, the rural concerns that Amnesty International has, we have just as many concerns within the city. And a new internet generation of bloggers within the city has become restless. China has addressed this restlessness by intensifying their control over internet searches and their unending editions of what they deem illegal websites. Amnesty International continues to campaign for the release of several individuals that are currently serving prison sentences for their internet use. Case after case after case of writers and journalists are now, as we speak, as we are gathered here this afternoon in freedom, they are being held in detention facilities. They have been imprisoned for exercising internationally recognized rights of expression. Amnesty International continues to urge the authorities to release them all immediately and unconditionally. I repeat, and this is important, to the government of the People's Republic of China, we ask for the release of these internet users immediately and unconditionally. The tensions I have just mentioned between the rich and the poor, those living in the city, those living in the rural areas, these tensions suggest that Beijing cannot avoid major reforms for long. Recently, International Olympic Committee Chairman Jacques Rogue stated, quote, "The Olympics have always improved human rights in the host country," unquote. We remember Joe Louis taking the gold at Hitler's Berlin Olympics, but we forget that when the Austrian soccer team was defeated by Peru, the result was canceled by racist officials. In Mexico City, government officials are only now being put on trial for the 1968 student massacres that occurred just a few weeks before the Summer Olympics back in 1968. And in the United States, mass arrests of African American youth in Los Angeles and of the homeless in Atlanta have darkened the image of the Olympics. In order to prevent a negative human rights legacy for the Beijing Olympics, Amnesty International calls on all world leaders, including those who do plan to attend the Olympic Games, to use their influence with the Chinese authorities to take urgent action in line with the recommendations that include the end of harassment, the end of arbitrary detention and intimidation of Falun Gong practitioners and of the lawyers that represent them. Amnesty International urges all corporate sponsors of the Olympics to raise their concerns over China's human rights situation with both the Chinese authorities and the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. As the Olympics draw closer, all world leaders and corporate sponsors of the Olympic Games must speak out on these issues. Your silent presence can be used as an endorsement of the human rights violations perpetrated in connection with this major event. A failure to speak out, especially when Chinese activists have been muzzled in violation of their human rights, to not speak out would effectively constitute a conspiracy of silence which undermines the principles and spirit of the Olympic Charter. Silence equals endorsement. I repeat, on behalf of Amnesty International, silence equals endorsement. Thank you.
And Amnesty International. Next, we are going to have Ryan Ree and Sean Eyes coming up to pray for us. And let's relax and let's enjoy their music. And we'll be back.
All right, thank you all. President, Hall of Fame, we got heroes that go insane. We got two sides to every breath. We got soldiers dying, can't buy beer. It's the same clean slate every year. But I wake up with the same old fear.